The White House releases its tax plan, and now critics are piling on, saying it piles on the tax breaks for the wealthy folks, just like the man on your screen. Then healthcare is back, but do Republicans have the votes this time around? ABC's Cokie Roberts is here on that and a look at the first 100 days. And our own Dominic Carter caught up with Reverend Al Sharpton. He told us why he thinks President Trump is actually energizing the Democratic Party. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Richard French. Well, the White House's tax plan is out, and that has brought the critics out as well. They're saying it helps out only a small sliver of the American population. It hurts the federal deficit, and what has been released is very short when it comes to details. But here is what the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, had to say about it.
This is about creating economic effects and tax cuts for the middle class. It's also about creating tax simplification so that most Americans will be able to fill out their tax returns on a giant postcard.
A giant postcard. All right, now here are some of the details, and they're very short of the ones we have here, but here they are. It'll cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 15%. It will also cut the top individual tax rate to 35% from nearly 40%. Also, would eliminate things like the estate tax. It would simplify things by reducing the number of tax brackets from 7 down to 3. You know, I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but once again, here goes. Let me remind you what the guy who's about to get his 100-day report card promised when he was then candidate Trump. This was his solemn vow to look out for the regular guy come tax time.
Bottom line, do you want taxes on the wealthy to go up or down?
They will go up a little bit, and they may go up, you know.
But they're going down in your plan.
No, in my plan they're going down, but by the time it's negotiated, they'll go up.
Now, I'm going to show you in a minute here how that soundbite, like so many things, of course, was just double talk to get elected. Now, the comically insulting one-sheeter that the Treasury Secretary and friend held up yesterday literally had 11 bullet points that were long on promises and short on details. Now, the stagecraft, it was all about optics for a boss who may be set to complete the worst first 100 days, but cares more than any prior president that the public unsuccessfully thinks otherwise. That said, that one-sheeter, it spoke volumes about who this president wants to help and hurt in the process. It's pitched as a plan to help the middle class and create tons of new jobs by cutting corporate taxes. Now, this new math is both deceptive and is beyond delusional. The biggest winners are unquestionably and beyond any historical comparison the wealthiest among us. Here's how it works. Now, I'm not in Trump's tax code, or what I imagine he is, considering we still have no clue, but my taxes would go from 39% to 15%. Owning and running a business as I do, guys like me would undeservedly, I think, be able to create pass-through loopholes and cut more than half my contribution to Uncle Sam without a scintilla of incentive to reinvest the then savings. Now, add on top of that, if you now inherit $5 million or more, and I'm guessing the vast majority of you don't, you currently pay an inheritance tax. Good news, Ivanka. That too go completely away. So too with the alternative minimum tax. Now, none of these existing taxes impact the overwhelming majority of the American public, but guess who it would and did? Now, this is the only tax reform we've seen to date. I believe he leaked it because it was the one that hurt him the least. But take a look at the Donald's returns in 2005 and look at what he paid in income taxes. Now, take a look at what he would have paid if the AMT, as he proposes, goes away. Less than 5% annually? Are you serious? That's his income tax rate? Now, to even consider, begin these debates on the future of the tax code without seeing our president's returns, I believe, is insane, particularly because he and his family have confirmed some of the worst suspicions out there time and again about self-enrichment and conflicts of interest. But this gets worse, and it goes well beyond the Trump clan. Now, you may remember for the campaign, and trust me, it's almost as ubiquitous as those red hats, America First. Remember that? And how Donald was going to stick it to the American companies who outsource jobs, and he even would slap on a border tax for good measure. Well, you can forget about that too. I think our corporate tax rate, this may surprise some folks, I think it is too high. Arguably, it may even be confiscatory. American corporations, they've got trillions of dollars socked away overseas and don't want to bring it back stateside because they don't want to pay the piper. So, I don't think it's a bad idea to incentivize those firms to bring the monies back at a one-time reduced rate. But what we heard yesterday takes that idea and it puts it on steroids. Not only do we have no idea just how little the tax dodgers would actually have to pay, but there's no end in sight according to the plan. It would be a permanent holiday. Mr. America First is actually proposing to encourage American corporations to put even more income overseas. It's the exact opposite of investing in America. But more than being cynical and an ultimate betrayal to the people that you promised to help, this most importantly would be really, really bad for America. Now think about it. We've tried this, albeit more rationally, before. You may remember going back to the 80s, the Laffer curve. Remember that West Coast economist that Reagan loved here, and in those years, he said, hey, if you cut taxes for the rich, it would put everybody back to work and turn deficits into surpluses. Well, at least that was the theory. Trickle-down economics didn't work, disaster. And it looks like rocket science, though, compared to what we saw yesterday. Trump's one-sheeter is projected to add, now listen for it, $7 trillion to the deficit. And you heard me right, that's trillion with a T. Take a guess what kind of things magically would become unaffordable at that point for the federal government to spend money on. And you can hear not only the safety net going away, but the middle class wondering who just pulled the rug out from underneath them. Listen, I don't think at the end of the day this one-sheeter is going to actually become law. But even if something resembling it does, shame on us. These days just keep getting stranger. All right, all week long, we have been taking a look at President Trump's first 100 days, and we would like to hear from you. I think you got a pretty good drift where I stand on this, but tell us what you have to say. Whether you think it's been a successful 100 days, you think it's been an abject failure, you've been hopeful on certain things, disappointed by others, if you're more hopeful or scared about the future, whatever it is, let us know where you stand. Email us at rfl@rnntv.com, and we may even read your comments in the air tomorrow night. All right, coming up next, a closer look at the first 100 days, highlights, lowlights, and where we go from here.